Hey, Steve Grogan here, founder of Geekwingchun. Today's video, finally, we break the losing streak I was on with bad books. And we review The Warrior Within by John Little. Usually we have videos featuring training tips and ideas, but every now and then I like to review books to give you, hopefully inspire other ideas for your training. So hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified when new footage is out. Having said that, I mean, you really won't get any new training drill ideas or what have you from this book, but it's still, it's still a good book. And John Little is not only the author of a book that had a big, huge inspiration on me, well, co-author of Body by Science, which I'll give a link to in the description box, but he's the editor, of several books in the, I believe they were from Tuttle Publishing, the Bruce Lee Library, like Tao of Kung Fu. There was one big thick one that was called just Jeet Kune, and of course the one on Bruce's fitness regimen called The Art of Expressing the Human Body. I'll put links to all those as well as a link to this one. They'll all be affiliate links, which I'll get a commission for if you buy through them, but that'll come at no extra cost to you. So what do we got here? First of all, there's a lot of pages with the Roman numerals as the pages, which means they're pages in the book, but they're not really part of the book. You know, there's a lot of that. So you get through that, you get to chapter 1, the true meaning of Kung Fu. It talks about a tale Bruce Lee used to like to tell called the Tale of Three Swordsmen. It says, 3 swordsmen sat down at a table in a crowded Japanese inn and began to make loud comments about their neighbor, hoping to goad him into a duel. The master, whose name was Musashi, the greatest samurai in all Japan, seemed to take no notice of them, but when their remarks became rude and more pointed, he raised his chopsticks and in quick snips effortlessly caught 4 flies on the wing. As he slowly laid down the chopsticks, the 3 swordsmen suddenly left the room. The reason they stopped harassing him wasn't because they were intrigued by his ability to catch flies with chopsticks. Instead, they recognized the skill this man revealed through his actions was an indicator of supreme Kung Fu, complete mastery over himself, and therefore he was to be avoided. Their conclusion underscores the age-old Chinese belief that any person who attains complete mastery of any art reveals his presence of mind in every action. So going on through my notes here, it talks about Bruce's old empty your cup thing. It doesn't mean you throw out what you already know, it just means you are always receptive to new knowledge. Let's see, it talks about professor and the Zen teacher. Page 22, the centipede and the dangers of self-consciousness. That's where the centipede's walking along with its hundreds of feet, and a butterfly comes along and says, how do you walk with so many feet? And when he starts thinking about it, the centipede trips. Page 26, I put something in brackets. Let's see. Our universe is so interconnected in all of its parts that one part of it, so-called, can exist only in relation to all the others. All motion to exist is only in relation to all other motion. Well, this is an actual thing about what Bruce Lee realized about when his teacher was saying, Ip Man or whoever was saying to him, talking about tension and self-consciousness and so on. And when you worry or worry about worrying by saying to yourself such things as I must relax or I must not think that way, life can become an intolerable burden to many. In page 39, Yin Yang, he talks about, basically what he talks about is the correct way to do Chiso. When opponent A uses strength on B, B must not resist him with strength. In other words, don't use positiveness against positiveness, but instead yield to him with softness. That's obviously Chiso. Chapter 6, Bend and Survive. That's his thing about when a tree goes like this in the wind, is flexible to go with the wind. That's a sign of life. Therefore, stiffness is a sign of, is equated with death. You know, like when you got a stiff, old, dried tree and the wind blows and the branches break off. Talks about Wu Wei. So I was right in that previous video where I said Wu Wei struck me as there was a guy who created something called Wu Wei Gung Fu, which I'd never heard of, and I thought Wu Wei was a Taoist principle, and I was right. Let's see here. There was a beautiful quote. I wrote down, beautiful quote, reminds me of a comment a classmate made when I did Tao of Jeet Kune for a presentation. Let's see. Simple truth is that these opinions on such things as racism are traditions, which are nothing more than a formula laid down by these elder people's experience. As we progress and time changes, it's necessary to reform this formula. For example, some people fight with others because they believe in different religions. If, however, they only gave this matter a bit of thought, they would never fight for such a foolish cause. I, Bruce Lee, am a man who never follows the formulas of the fearmongers. So no matter if your color is black or white, red or blue, I can still make friends with you without any barrier. A long time ago in a class I had, it was called like ethnic diversity in literature or something like that. We had to pick a book by a minority that, or by a certain ethnicity I should say, and say why we identified with it. And I picked Tao of Jeet Kune, and a young woman, a classmate of mine, said something like, it's really different and I think really cool that you'd pick a book by a Chinese person, to, you know, someone of a different ethnicity than you, to say you identify with. And I remember just being, I don't know, man, maybe I was raised different. I just remember thinking, what's the big deal? You know, I mean, that was the assignment. Pick a book by an ethnicity, and anyway. It talks about when you're challenged by people. Those people who make challenges must have something wrong in their heart. Which kind of echoes what I've learned about self-esteem. It's like if you don't believe, you can have self-confidence about, I'm a good fighter, but that's an external thing. What about who are you in here and in here, you know? And there's always the question, you know, was Bruce, you hear conflicting stories. Was Bruce arrogant or just confident? And I think only those who are close to him they're the only ones who can really say for sure. And of course, if they say it out loud, no one believes them. You know, but unfortunately, you know, he was stuck in a very unfortunate position, like he says here. All the time people come up to me and say, Bruce, are you really that good? I say, well, if I tell you I'm good, probably you'll say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you'll know I'm lying. So that's the position he was stuck in, and so on and so forth. And then we go on to have chapters like Stage of Cultivation. You Are It. Talks about his ideas on self-expression. Chapter 13, The Art of Fighting. 138. An epiphany. It reminds me of an epiphany I had during sparring. A Kung Fu man's mind is concentrated by not dwelling on any particular points of the opponent. This is especially true when dealing with many opponents. It can the flow of thought is like water filling a pond, which is always ready to flow off again. It can work its inexhaustible power because it's free, and be open to everything because it's empty. And yeah, so I mean, as far as a philosophical book, insights on the way of the mind, it's worth getting. It's not worth getting if you're looking for like, training tips and ideas and different drills. So, but it's still, I think, a good book. I'm going to include the affiliate link for it. I'll get a commission, but that's no extra cost to you. So there you have it. Finally broke the losing streak I was on with terrible books. Thanks for being here for it. I'll see you in the next video.